Right of the people, baby.
To truly choose to love is heroic.
Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people.
It takes the willingness to stand by and do what has to be done when it has to be done.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Off the Shelf Book Club. My name is Jermaine.
My name is Jessalin.
We're excited to get into the final chapters of Unbuild Walls by Silky Shah. It has truly been a really good book. It's been a great book. And we're really excited to get into that with you guys today. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, hype the video so we can get this in front of a bigger audience. We want to keep on spreading the knowledge so everybody can be ready for the revolution when that comes. And to get into everything, don't forget to check out some of the resources we have down below. If you or a friend or anybody who's interested in doing the knowledge needs it, check out below. We got those down there for you. And we also want to introduce our upcoming book we're going to be working on for the next few months, or next 2 months here.
Yeah. So our next book that we're going to be reading for next couple of months after this is We Do This Till We Free Us by Mariame Kaba. This book is another book about abolition. Specifically, we're looking at the prison industrial complex and police specifically in this book. But she does a lot of organizing for racial, gender, and transformative justice movements. And a lot of this book talks about gender violence and how abolition works around that, which is really nice because I know usually when people bring up abolition, their first questions usually is well, what about the really dangerous people? What about the rapists? What about that? And so she puts it into perspective and talks about how she actually works, because she does do a lot of work with those people in an abolitionist framework. So, yeah. Yeah,
and we're really excited to get into that with you. We're going to have a little bit of space between us getting into that book, so we can also let you have time to also find the book. You can find this book, and you can try and find this book at your local libraries. It's a good way to get out there, and you might also find some other books that you might like. You can also check it out on haymarketbooks.org and look through the resources that we have below for you. Those are some resources that are either free or make it easier to access it at a lower cost. Whatever you guys need, we're trying to help. If you also have any other resources that you recommend, feel free to drop it in our comments. And if you have any, opinions on the questions that we have, make sure that you reach out. We really want to hear from you guys. Drop some comments below. Drop comments in our social media. DM us if you'd like. Email us. You can check out all those down below. Make sure you do that. We really appreciate all the support. Thank you, guys. And before we get into talking about the final chapters today, we do want to get into our land acknowledgement. The Off the Shelf Book Club wants to offer our utmost respect to those who came before us on this land. It is important that we protect and acknowledge the history of the indigenous people of America. Minnesota Makoche, which means the land of the water that reflects the sky, is the homeland of the Dakota and Anishinaabe people. Minnesota, in its history, has taken part in the genocide of Native people and multiple treaties that stripped them from their homelands. Where Off the Shelf Book Club resides is home of the Metawakan people, which means dwellers of the Spirit Lake. Off the Shelf Book Club will do whatever we can to honor the Native people and their lands, and do what we can to aid in the land back movement. Thank you. All right. We're going to get into these questions for the last two chapters. And for chapter 7, which is Abolitionist Approach to system change.
What do reformist actions / steps towards abolition look like that don't actively put money in pockets where we don't want them?
Chapter 8, Beyond Abolish ICE. What would the country look like if it had billions of extra dollars to spend on housing, food, and education for all? What if we lived in a commitment to abundance instead of scarcity?
If the money spent on the carceral state and war machine were to be diverted toward helping people and creating healthier communities here and abroad, how could that help us?
What kind of ancestors do we want to be? What is the world we want to leave behind, and how do we start making that world now? So, what were your thoughts about this?
I thought it was a good wrap up of, like, I feel like a lot of the book was mainly about history, and then kind of like like a quick excerpt of like what abolition means in this situation. And then I feel like these last two chapters are like, well, here's the action steps and what they look like.
Yeah.
Specifically. So I thought that was a nice just ending and a nice touch, and I really like how she ended it, the book, and talking about like her experiences and how she went to one of the older concentration camps and like really had to think about, you know, the question of like, what kind of ancestor do you want to be? What do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, I really like that question too, because I feel like I've heard it before, but you know, just in connection to this book, it just, and this way of thinking, it really, I don't know, just kind of pushes you further, because abolition goes, you know, deeper than just the systems that we have here. It's like, you know, deconstructing your mind and what you think is normal, you know. And I think that that's a really, I don't know, it just was honestly a good reminder of that, you know, making sure that we're staying grounded within, you know, a really bad reality that we're in right now in the current state of the United States. It's important that we continue to deconstruct things, and that's what I think that this chapter kind of reminded us of, is to continue to leave your mark of, like, even if it's just a little thought, or a t-shirt, you know what I mean? Just like even little t-shirts, like even from her interactions in this last chapter, I don't know, you just got to make sure that, I think it was just a nice reminder of like, all right, this is how we're gonna do this. Like, okay, I gave you all the stats, gave you why we're doing this, and how we've done this before. Yeah. But let me tell you, like, just a more personal vibe. It felt like,
for sure.
Yeah. And I guess just to start answering some of these questions, the first question, just like, how do we start reforming this, or how do we start abolishing this system slowly with like these tiny steps? Because it isn't gonna be a, you know, a one day thing. It's not gonna be like, oh, we just sign a law or we take away this thing and now it's abolished. No, we have to do we have to get all the root help. You know what I mean? So how are we, you know, gonna do this? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think, like, right, the first step towards abolition is there needs to be some, I feel like there's a couple of things. There needs to be some mind changes and then some actual policy changes that can happen. I think one of those mind changes, and she talks about this, I want to say in chapter 7, and she talks about nonprofits in particularly, and I think that there's a big issue with nonprofits that can occur. Nonprofits are supposed to, you know, make up for things that are missing in communities. With that being said, you should be working yourself out of a job. You should be working yourself out of a job, because your job should technically not exist, because it should already be, in a way, because it should already be taken care of in via government or whatever that is, right?
Right.
And so a lot of issues that happens is that these nonprofits actually ask for reformist things that just continuously keep these systems in place that need to be taken out. Because if they didn't, then they would be out of a job. But the reality is that we should be working ourselves out of a job. So that mind change of like, you're going into this position, but the reality is you need to go into it with the mindset of that I don't want to actually have this anymore. Because we shouldn't necessarily like want to be there. Like, yes, it's a calling, want to be able to help people. Absolutely. But the fact that we also have to have it in the first place is an issue. The fact that we need to fill gaps is an issue.
Yep.
And so I think that's one thing. The other thing that we also need to do is, in terms of like policy, is divesting in areas and then investing in others.
Yes.
Because a lot of these areas exist, they're just not invested in enough. And so that's another thing, as well as cracking down on certain departments and certain stuff. Like, for example, the Minneapolis Police Department literally just, like, their budget was $230 million over budget. And their police chief couldn't even have a substantial reason why, as to why they went over $230 million.
Yep.
And if you look at the budget, a lot of it is BS. It's BS. It's things that they actually don't need to be over budget for, that it just so happen to be, and it's whatever.
Yep.
Instead, they just get a bigger budget the next year, and that's an issue.
Nobody's checking those dots. You know what I mean?
And, like, I don't know any other department that would let being $230 million over budget. That's an insane amount of money.
That's so much money that, you know what they just did to make sure that HCMC, which is Hennepin County Medical Center in Minneapolis, the biggest that provides for the most people in the Twin Cities, it took $150 million, which was they almost didn't get to keep them open for a little bit longer for the rest of the year. And you're telling me that we're going to be spending this money. We almost had a whole hospital. Closed down.
But the police department can go over $230 million.
Make it make sense.
Over their budget.
That hospital is doing, they literally have full beds all the damn time.
And I want to say only 27 million of it was like salary wise, and it was overtime salary.
Right.
So where's the other 200 million?
Yeah, it ain't adding up. And this is why we have to be reminded that we can't be living in these systems. Like you said, we have to work ourselves out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of this quote from the first line of chapter 7. When we are faced with a significant challenge and unsure of what to do, we often turn to our existing systems for solutions. That ain't worth it. Mm-hmm. That's like, it's an abusive relationship, honestly. It's that type of abuse where they tell you that you can't be, like, nobody's going to love you like I love you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to take care of you like I take care of you. You know what I mean? You got to get out of that relationship. We all know that. And why are we sitting here in this system that sits here and victimizes everybody? It victimizes everybody. Mm-hmm. Nobody truly benefits from this system besides the people who are the owners or the government officials or the 1%. That's the only people. And if we sit here and we don't want to acknowledge that, and we don't want to face the reality that, yeah, we need to get it together. We can't be living in the the saying of you can't deconstruct the master's house with the master's tools. We gotta figure some different shit out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that we can do this, how we can get out of this system, like stop using the system to fix the system, we have to go out of it, think outside of the box. The first quote again from the top of chapter 7, it's from Ruth Wilson Gilmore, from The Golden Gulag. Many remedies proposed for the all-purpose use of prisons to solve social, political, and economic problems get caught in the logic of the system itself, such that reform strengthens rather than loosens prisons' hold. In a sense, professionalization of activism has made many committed people so specialized and entrapped by funding streams that they have become effectively de-skilled when it comes to thinking and doing what matters most, which is thinking outside of this box. Like, think outside of the box. And at the end of the day, like, say that you like what you said earlier, we're trying to work ourselves out of a job. Mm-hmm. We're trying to work ourselves out of like issues really to talk, like to go protest about, because there's so many issues in this world that we need to protest. But the goal is that we don't want to protest. We want to protest, or we want to get this shit done. Mm-hmm. We want to get this, like, we want to have a better world. So we need to start doing that. And constantly funding the same police department that is the reason why George Floyd is dead. The reason why parts of Minneapolis still have barely recovered from since what happened.
Not to mention $230 million over, and now they want to put in Cop City.
Yeah.
For another $40 million.
And y'all trying to put it in a Cop City. That don't even make sense. Because at the end of the day, we still know that the Minneapolis Police Department is corrupt as fuck.
Yeah, because the police officer in chief, I don't even remember his name, who Jacob Freyshon put in there again, has over 30 complaints? Why would you want somebody back in there that has that many complaints?
Exactly. And
police officers leaving, they post for a booty call.
That's wild. That's wild.
I wish I was lying about that. I'm not.
That's crazy.
I'm not actually lying.
I'm honestly not surprised. It probably happens way more than we hear about. But it's just, we have to get to this idea of like, okay, we're not going to sit here and say that, oh, we need to make sure that prisons get more funding. No. We need to say this prison needs to close down. This prison closes down. We stop funding this prison. It's done. Boom. And then we have to, because if we sit here and we say it needs more funding, we are accepting the fact that in America, it's okay to have slaves as long as they did a crime. Mm-hmm. We're accepting we're accepting the fact that the amount of we want violence to stop, but all the violence that happens in prisons, and you think funding is gonna stop that? More funding is gonna stop that? They're talking. They're the most funded shit in America besides the fucking military, because they're an extension of it. If you can accept that as an American, then you got a lot of deconstructing to do. Because clearly it ain't worked. Like I've said a million times on this damn podcast already. You can't expect them to shut something down that really is profiting off of. And everybody should be pissed when you live in one of these small towns that are these rural areas that are sitting here that and are economically dependent on these, economically dependent on blood money. You should want better for yourself. That's very, and a lot of these small towns in rural countries, that's very anti-Christian of you. Profiting off of blood money. Let's remember that. And let's remember that. The actions need to follow the fact that this is immoral. We can't get past the fact that it's immoral. They clearly, we have to accept this shit. We're one of the 4 countries that's still at the UN that voted that slavery wasn't the worst crime that happened in the world. We still didn't want to admit that. You want to know why? Because we're doing it right now. We're profiting off it right now. Make it make sense. We can't do it. When you're profiting off of somebody else's blood, how does that let you sleep at night? Should be sick of yourselves. Should be sick to the stomach. And honestly, and this is kind of talking about, this is still answering the first question, but also kind of answering this last question of what kind of ancestor do you want to be, and what kind of reformist acts or what kind of actions can we take towards abolition. I'd like to say just the baby steps that we take. And there's a point that Silky Shah brings up here about how it's important that the people are involved. Actually, all change that happens in America and everywhere is because of the people, not the system that is inflicting the issue. The people have to sit here and say, no more. Enough is enough. That's what it takes. So on page 186, one of the last few paragraphs, she's just reminding you of the court's decision that parts of the ban were constitutional is perhaps less surprising. The Supreme Court has moved even farther to the right in the recent years after overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. So why are we surprised that the same system is doing what it's been doing for forever? And now here's a quote from Howard Zinn that he made years ago. It would be naive to depend on the Supreme Court to defend the rights of poor people, women, people of color, dissenters of all kind. Those rights only come alive when citizens organize and protest, demonstrate, strike, boycott, rebel, and violate the law in order to uphold justice. He points out that even Roe v. Wade in 1973 came about after states across the country had made abortion legal due to grassroots agitation. We're doing our job here in Minnesota. Now we gotta keep on ramping it up. We gotta keep on going, demanding the abolishment of ICE and overall prisons. But it's gonna take multiple states. It's gonna take thousands or millions of people to start doing the work. But that's what it takes. The same thing that we sat here and we went out back in the day to go and protest to get Roe v. Wade. That same system that we forced to do it took it away from us. That's the reality we have to accept. So how do we do it? From now on, what do? Whatever change we want, because we still don't got free healthcare. We still don't got universal healthcare. So we need to be out in the streets. Still got the police killing everybody. We need to be out in the streets. We still investing in genocides all across the world. We need to be out in the streets. We just divested from our own education system. Need to be out in the streets. We're bombing countries across the globe. Need to be out in the streets. Slavery is still legal in America. Need to be out in the streets. Children are getting killed in America at the highest rate by gun violence. Need to be out in the streets. That's what it takes. And we doing it. Shout out to people that were protesting at the Capitol. They sat in that bitch for like 3 days. Because we're trying to get that ban on high capacity guns. Now that's a step. That's a step. And I guess just to leave some questions for you to think about how you can start getting involved and also deconstructing the ideas of what we know we need to do. Like specifically, I guess, like towards like policy, start questioning policy, start questioning the institutions that are here. She has some questions just to check your values. The first one, there's 3, is, does this step reduce the scale of detention and surveillance? Does this step chip away at the current system without creating new harms or helping some people at the expense of others? And the third one, does this step provide relief to people who will be or are currently detained or under surveillance? Those are constant. We need to constantly ask those type of questions. Constantly need to ask those type of questions. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, if y'all don't get that, I know this is about, it's hard not to talk about immigration or talk about prisons when you're talking about immigration, detention centers, and justice, because there's also slave labor in both. You know what I mean? It's also like terrible conditions in both, and they're similar in a lot of ways. They're different, but they're similar in a lot of ways as well. And truly, if you're okay with the fact that, yeah, a man killed a man and that shit was really terrible, hope the family is healing correctly and we're able to, and are, healing and able to move on with this situation down in Florida with the rapper Julio Fulio. But the fact that I can't remember if it was the judge, the lawyer, the deputy, whatever, somebody was sitting there saying, nah, don't give him the death penalty, which I don't believe in. I don't believe he should have that. But let's use him. He's young. He's athletic. Let's put him to work. Let's put him to work. That's what they said. Instead of saying, hey, this is a young man. He clearly got a lot of life ahead of him. Something ain't adding up here. He's not okay. Let's get him some help. Yeah, maybe he needs to be separated from society because he did that violent, heinous crime that was planned. He needs a bit of separation so he can get the fucking help. But we can't sit here and say, you can't sit here and take a moral high ground with that. They literally just blatantly talked about enslaving a man. In 2026. And that's the system you want to trust to fix itself. But moving on to these other questions. Yeah.
All right. The next question is, what would the country look like if it had billions of extra dollars to spend on housing, food, and education for all? What if we lived in a commitment to abundance instead of scarcity?
What you got?
I think, like, we tend to, like, part of that having billions of extra dollars, like, we have them, right? It's the fact that we're allowing people, like our police departments, to go so much over budget. It's the fact that we're putting our tax dollars in the wrong areas. $295, like she said in the book, $295 go to the military in our taxes. Only $19 go to mental health resources.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Even if we just took the 95 from the military and transferred it into our mental health resources, we would have so much better mental health resources that could probably actually get some stuff done. Because that's another thing too, is that our mental health resources that we do have aren't substantial enough to where they're made to help all different kinds of people. And so that's the part that we have to do about abolition, is how can we strengthen these mental health resources that we have to be more equipped to deal with with people, even like the most dangerous people that everybody wants to bring up. It's like, yeah, okay, right, maybe they do need to be in a residential program, but our residential programs are not fit,
right,
to actually help these people. So we need to put more money into it, which is absolutely possible. Mm-hmm. It's not impossible. We can do that. And then maybe there's a possibility they can be rehabilitated. But even if not, at least they're getting the help that they need.
Exactly. Instead of committing more crimes, being more violent, and staying in that lifestyle. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. And the other thing is like a big thing that she says, is, I believe, I can't remember who also says it, but abolition is about prevention, not absence. Mm-hmm. So we're getting the root of the problems. Okay, well, why did you kill this person? Oh, because you were in a rival gang. Well, why are you even in a gang in the first place? Oh, for protection. Okay, why do you need protection? Right? There's root causes of this. If we can keep going, we can keep going. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I need this or I need that. I need money because my family can't pay the light bills. Well, if we give universal basic income, that should help. Mm-hmm. Better housing opportunities, that should help. Better food resources, that should help. Better educational opportunities for kids, that should help.
Shoot.
And not be lacking in any of these things. That's the also part, is we're not lacking in any of these things. Nobody will go without these opportunities. Nobody's going without these opportunities. It's not like these opportunities are just here for certain people. It's like, no, everybody has access to them. Nobody is not able to have access to them. And I think the idea of like, we live in this scarcity space because there's safety and there's security. And being like secure and safety are two different levels. Mm-hmm. Feeling safe is a better space than feeling like, oh, you're secure, because secure is how we get the surveillance that we have. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily feel all that safe. You just know you're secure because you got police patrolling the streets.
You know
Don't
that
necessarily feel safe because
you
of
know
that.
you know that your death will probably be caught on camera. That's what you know. Like, that's the type of
Precisely.
security that we got.
But feeling safe is that you don't have to worry about those things. And so that's part of the abundance that we're living in, is that you feel genuinely safe. Because if the police patrolling the streets, if ICE patrolling the streets actually felt safe, then women wouldn't be scared to go for walks at any time of the day, because there's just stabbing in one of the most populated areas in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Midday, I think.
The same Atlanta that's trying to get Cop City, or they might already have it.
Like, we still feel scared to this day. Which means that it's not working. It's not working. Yeah.
It ain't working. And we have to look beyond what we currently have. Like you said, like if our women aren't feeling safe to even walk the streets, how do we do that? First, very, little steps, but they're big steps, is teaching little boys how to keep their hands to themselves.
Boys will be boy shit. I don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah. Because honestly, if I have a daughter or any of my kids, that boys will be boy shit, well, a boy will be getting slapped the fuck up. And his mom and dad.
And his grandma, too.
Yeah. Who else? We have to start setting that boundary up first. And not first, but those are some of the structural things that we have to do. As well as looking to be like, okay, well, like the different things that college campuses have done. I know that's technically then calling on police sometimes, but that also can be like the security. Okay, walk me to my house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or walk me to my dorm.
And
like,
it doesn't have to be police or security. It
right,
can just
it could
be
a
a group of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've been doing to this day, right? Like
Right.
what it is when we see ICE, it's not that security is necessarily going over there. It's a group of people, of your friends, of your peers that are going over there to ensure that you're safe.
Shoot, you can make that a student job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Have a few students that are on deck over, during shifts, and they'll like, oh, it rang over here. Let's go over here. Us three, we're gonna walk this person this far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like doing things like that. Like there's ways that we can create economic opportunity as well as deconstructing this economic fucking machine over here. You know what I mean? Like just because we're taking away the economic of here doesn't mean that there isn't space. Like that literally means that leaves more space for other economic opportunities. If you really want to be capitalistic like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but we got to survive. But like, it's just, and if kind of moving on to the second question while mixing the first question of chapter 8 is, if we sit here and let's talk about this little fact here on page 202. Since the creation of ICE, the United States has more, not fewer, undocumented immigrants than it did before 9/11, increasing from 7 million to 12 million at the height, revealing how the system hasn't worked as intended. So let's talk about that. If we start divesting, that means that this whole issue of you got a lot of you, I'll just say overall Americans feel like illegal immigrants are an issue. Well, if we divest from our military war machine, maybe there wouldn't be so many reasons why people have to leave their homes. Because people don't really want to leave their homes majority of the time. They're usually forced for various reasons. And a lot of the reasons are because we did some shit. And now they're facing the overall aftermath. Like, we literally have government officials that have been caught in cahoots with some of the cartels in Mexico selling or getting fentanyl. Literally. And you want to talk about, oh, it's such an issue. No, that person who had all this fucking power is the one who is the fucking issue, because they're creating these artificial issues that so much so that they become real issues with real consequences that we see, but also are seen in other countries across the globe. And that's why people come here, is because it looks safer. Be for real. Everybody knows how we are. They know that America is a racist country. The world knows that. They ain't dumb. But their home was so bad after we left it, after we did some shit, that they felt like this is the safest option. So if we divest from all that, naturally, the number of illegal immigrants will lower. And I even hate saying that. Undocumented immigrants, sorry. We have to truly get out of the system, because we are literally funding these issues so that we can constantly fund. We are funding these issues because there's economic machines over here. That's why we have a war machine. That's why our police are an extension of the war machine. That's why our immigration officers are our immigration enforcement is extensions of that war machine. We have to leave the machines. We have to build new machines. And not with a single fucking part that they used. With a new tool set and everything. Even if we gotta make that shit from scratch. Even if we gotta do some creative shit. Even if, you know what, we gotta ghetto rig this bitch to get this working. But you know what, we gonna get this working. That's it. Instead of depending on this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like I keep on hijacking.
Fine.
All right.
Another thing, just about what could be in it for you. More access to groceries.
Yep.
More access to housing. Universal income. Just money in your pocket just because you're alive. Better education for you, your families, your kids. Adequate mental health resource. I bet you ain't even think about this. Free universal internet. Internet's become such a necessity. Yeah, we all gotta pay for it. They could just give us it. And they could give us it without putting a shit ton of motherfucking data centers in your neighborhoods.
Divest from that AI and invest in universal internet. Get with me.
Just saying. It's possible for all of those things. And more. Better public transportation. Things like that. Where you don't have to worry about getting a car because you could take the bus. And the bus, you can get to where you need to be in an adequate amount of time. You can ride your bikes. You can walk. You can jog. Take your scooter.
Not have a war in Iran over oil.
Exactly. All of these things are possible, which would overall provide us with better mental health.
Yep.
More paid leave for families. Maybe even vacation time. All of these things. And I don't want to hear that bullshit on whether or not, oh, well, if you give them more of this and they're not going to be able to do the work. It's literally been proven wrong. There's that. There are literally companies out here that give unlimited PTO.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Their employees don't overuse it. Why? Because they're actually properly taken care of. When you're actually properly taken care of in work,
You actually kind of want
you
to
don't,
work.
right? You actually want to work. You might not actually take off all of those days because you actually want to be there.
Yeah.
Crazy thought.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why you parents need to treat your kids' teachers better. God forbid.
Facts. You can get that shit together. They doing a lot of
Right.
your job for you.
They already don't get paid enough. Then you want to come over here on this bullshit. I don't want to hear it. Your kids be badasses sometimes. God forbid.
Honestly, a majority of the times when y'all be assholes to teachers, I look at you the same way like when you're an asshole to like servers and waiters. Because it's like, dude,
They don't get enough to deal with your bitch ass.
for real.
If they did,
Or your bitch ass kids.
maybe you would have better service.
Oh.
For real. For real. Some of y'all got.
No, you can't say that.
You're right. We can't.
But for real. So I think that's kind of a good way, though, a good segue to this next question.
What kind of ancestor do you want to be? What is the world we want to leave behind? And how do we start making that world now? Like teaching your kids to be better humans.
Yeah. Because you're going to be their ancestor one day.
I'm not calling upon you, I'll tell you that much.
And honestly, like, I think that personally, what we're doing now with like the podcast, the type of person that I am today is the type of ancestor that I want to be. You know, I try to just lead with, I lead with my beliefs. I lead with my heart. You know, what I feel is right, I'm going to tell it. I'm going to speak by it. My actions will reflect how I feel.
Yeah.
In a good or bad way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it will, like, I want to be that ancestor that, like, when you looking for that truth, a little bit of sprinkle of truth that you need, that might leave you a little salty. I'm the one that's gonna pop up. That's the one. That's the way I want to be.
Yeah. I think same. And just overall, I'm somebody who will do everything that they can to make sure that you get what you need.
Right.
And so with that, right, the same kind of aspect, like, be there. You need this, okay, we gonna figure it out.
Right.
And
you just gotta ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me.
Right. I think this question, like, there's this in indigenous teaching, right, of the seven generations.
Yeah.
You have 3 that come before you, your ancestors, the ones that come before you, and the 3 that come after you, the ones that aren't here yet. Usually, right? Sometimes you have kids, right? And that looks a little bit different. But overall, right, the three that aren't even here yet, the ones that come before you. So what do you, like, how are you, making your ancestors proud, right? And what world do you want to leave behind to provide those 3 generations that have yet to come with? Are you going to leave them in this bullshit ass society and economy like the boomers did because they didn't give 2 shits about us? And all of them that came before that, because if we're going to be completely honest, right, it didn't just start with them.
Right.
Or do you actually want to provide a better life and make it easier for those who come after you to have what you have? To get to where you want to get if you haven't gotten there. Do you want to make it easier for them?
100%. That's what that should be the main goal of anything, is making the world a little bit better. You know, trying to make it to where your kids don't have to think about the struggles that, you know, that we have to. And the sad reality of today is that, like, a lot of our elders, you know, were not born with their rights, but then were given rights and now have witnessed themselves get it taken away. You know what I mean? It's a fucked up circle. And we have allowed that shit to happen. And we have to say we have allowed it because right now, you know, I got to take personal responsibility, but we not out. We not outside. We need to be like, and that's the way that that's the type of ancestor that I want to be too. Is like, you know that I'm a ride for you. And when it comes to some shit, if you need some protection,
You finna be outside.
what's up?
And the issue is we've never done the work to prevent it. The work wasn't done to prevent it in any capacity. Because if it was, a lot of the things, the way that they look like now, wouldn't look the way it does.
Yeah.
And that was created by design. That's the purpose of these books, is to let you know that all of this was created by design. Even with all the progress that we made at one point, right? It's all created by design to fuck you up in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly. And I think it's just, it's a reminder that I want to, again, adding on to what kind of ancestor I want to be. And this is the type of person I want to be. Father I want to be if I am one day. Family member, loved one, partner. Like, I want you to know that we can't be complacent with the current circumstances. When wrong is being done, that's it. We can't go around that. We have to direct that. Like, that has to be dealt with head on, because if we don't, we sit here and sugarcoat it and lollygag all around the issue, and then whoops, your rights are gone. The fact that black voters' rights weren't protected enough to where that shit could just happen like that. The fact that women's rights weren't protected enough to where the voting, the whole shit that they're passing this year, where you gonna need your fucking birth certificate, social security, everything if you fucking change your name. The fact that women have lost their fucking bodily autonomy. We can't be. It's because we've become too complacent within this abusive relationship, drawing it back to the beginning.
Y'all don't realize women losing their bodily autonomy, right? Their right to an abortion is just the start.
Oh, yeah.
Because y'all don't really understand. Roe v. Wade wasn't just for that. It was literally for surveillance. And what somebody could report to people about what you're doing or not.
Yep. Your records, all that shit.
Because we lost abortion rights, now certain states are creating
You good?
transgender lists.
Yeah, they're trying to do detransitioning.
That's a direct
camps.
translation to that.
They're trying to fund detransitioning camps, but not trying to fund your education. They defunded that. FYI. They're trying to make Sorry. No. You're good. That's it.
You're getting rid of voting rights in the way that they did with the gerrymandering. Not even started, but came from revoking inmates' rights, like felons' rights to vote. You go after one particular group of people that the vast majority of people that might be okay with. Like felons, for example. Oh, you committed a crime. Well, maybe you shouldn't, which is weird behavior, but I digress. That's what it's going to be. The same goes for, oh, you can't leave you can't leave the country if you owe child support. Yeah, these motherfucking deadbeat ass dads do need to pay some goddamn child support.
Mm-hmm.
But that don't mean that they can't leave the country, because it starts with them. But you owe just, even if it's just $5,000 in student loans. Maybe it's $100,000 in student loans. Maybe it's $500,000 in student loans. Now you can't leave the fucking country because you owe money. Mind you, you shouldn't owe that much, regardless of the $5,000 or $500,000. Shouldn't owe that much in student loans. But let's say you do. Who the fuck could pay that anyways? That's crazy.
Yeah. Majority of students don't plan on paying that shit off because it's so unreasonable. Be fucking for real. Y'all should have known that.
But now you can't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And at some point, we'll realize the, terrible things that we've done. It's there's going to be a point where we have to admit it. And it just reminds me of, from page 208 to 209, Silky Shah was talking about her personal experiences over in the historical Minidoka National Historical Site, which is in Utah and Idaho, one of them. It's the Japanese American relocation center. And she talks about walking around it. For a moment, I wondered what it would be like if all those detention centers we had passed earlier became like Minidoka one day. Remnants of a violent history. Reminders of what we should never do again. And that's what we have to start looking at this shit as. Never should we do it again. We play around with too much shit that we should never do again. We know that we should never do these things again. Like I said earlier, the only country one of the few countries that sat here and said slavery wasn't the worst crime in history, actively commits it, was one of the biggest beneficiaries of that. The country that has bombed a country with a nuke is the one that is policing all the countries with nukes. We can't sit here and act like these monstrosities aren't real, that they didn't happen, that they haven't happened, that they don't continue to happen, because then we're just complacent again. And we have to completely divest from all this. We have to completely let go of these ways before it is the death of all of us. Because that's what it brings. That's only, like, in this type of system, there's only one ending. It's a snake eating itself. Never again. We will say never again to this shit. And that's why it's important to continue to do the knowledge so you're not repeating those mistakes, so you're not continuing to add on to those systems, and so that we can also hold our government officials accountable, because somebody got to make sure that somebody with a spine steps into office. Midterms coming up. If you ain't talking about abolishing ICE, getting rid of detention centers, defunding the police, putting some more money into education, you ain't talking about that shit. You ain't talking about Medicare for all or universal health care. If you ain't talking about things that the people need, then get the fuck up on my face. We're not voting for you. If you're not divesting from genocides, but if you're okay with that, if you don't want to do that work, then you're complacent within all those things too. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. Is there anything that you would like to add on more?
No.
All right, well, I really enjoyed this book. It's been really eye-opening. I like looking at this, looking at the just immigrant justice overall through the eyes of abolition, because everything truly needs to be put through the eyes of abolition, because everything is a construct within this system. You know, they're like everything is become part of the system, and in order for us to get up out of it, means we have to step up out of it. We have to step out with our actions, create new things, find the beauty in life that is truly still there before we can't anymore. You know. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book.
It's a really good book.
Good history in there. Good stats. And I kind of like her little sassiness. She does a little sass here and there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just being like, not word for word, but like she'll be like damn near like the bullshit that the Dems pulled to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? To do the same thing the Republicans do. Yeah. Shout out, Silky Shah the one, man. That's a good book. Shout out her. Shout out all the people that are out there, the activists doing the work. We really appreciate y'all. Keep on doing this. Keep on fighting the good fight, man. And reach out, you know. If this comes across anybody's stuff, reach out, man. We'd love to do work with people. We'd love to get this shit going, get shit off the ground, man. Get shit shaking.
100%.
Because who don't like to rebel sometimes? You know? It's good love.
What's the quote? Get into good trouble, necessary trouble. What John Lewis say?
Get into the good type of trouble? I don't know.
Something
I feel like
like
I've
that.
heard that saying before, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, again, the people, power to the people, man. That's what the book told us too. You know, it takes all of us. You could be a lawyer, you could be a chef, you could be just a driver.
For real.
You could be the security. You could be the one motion in traffic.
You could be the artist. You can be...
For real. You could be the sound guy. You could be the camera guy. You can be the person who creates posters. You could be the person who's just spreading the word. There are so many steps within this revolution. Get in where you fit in.
For real.
Because we need everybody.
Pick your job out.
Yeah. Everybody for abolition, though. Don't forget that part. That we need to find. We need to, get on these. I think there's a few things that we could all agree on, but we need to get on a real good basis as a people of, this is what we need. This is how we gonna do it.
And that's it.
Yeah. And dare them to say no. Because I'm telling you, no matter who is in that Oval Office, if 1 million people showed up, that man shit in their pants.
If 5,000 people showed up,
they gonna get shaken in their boots.
only 5,000 people broke that man out of jail, and I wish I could remember his name. Who was enslaved. 5,000 people showed up to the jail and busted down the jail and paraded with him around Milwaukee.
And that's what we got to do. Because there's power in numbers. There's power in the people, man. Remember that. And
You could probably do that with just 1,000 people.
For real. Remember that, man. That's what it takes. So. All right. Well, this has been another book. Another book in the books for the Off the Shelf Book Club. Book number 2. Yeah.
And many more to come.
Yeah. It's going to be a good year. There's going to be some good content. Just wait. We going to be cooking. the summer gonna be interesting, especially towards the end. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Again, great book. Appreciate your work. It really, really appreciate your work. All y'all, we appreciate all of you who have read the book, who've stayed tuned. We hope y'all have a wonderful day, wonderful rest of your week, great health and wealth, peace of mind. Ashe.
Ashe.
I write it to people, baby.
To truly choose to love is heroic.
Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people.
It takes the willingness